Hello, all my little weirdos. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Twisted Tales Tuesdays, where each week I bring you along on a dark and twisted story. This week we are heading to the Crescent City, also known as New Orleans, Louisiana, the hustling and bustling city that brought us jazz music, the city that is known for witchcraft and voodoo, and the streets that are crawling with ghost story after ghost story. And of course, we can't forget the city where the vampires ran rampant. Today we are talking about the infamous Carter brothers. John and Wayne Carter were brothers living in New Orleans in the 1930s. Their story is argued as pure folklore, a vampire urban legend that was created because it complements the city's deep culture. The brothers weren't known as anything spectacular, just typical men who kept to themselves. They were said to have been average build, around 5'6" and roughly about 160 pounds, and they worked long hours as dock workers. Of course, all of that was before the gruesome discovery of how they lived their lives behind closed doors came to light and sent a wave of terror through New Orleans. It was 1932 when a young girl went stumbling down the streets, literally running for her life. A police officer was approached by this young, scared, and very pale girl with bandages around her wrists. She told her story of how she was captured and held captive by vampires who fed on not only her blood, but the blood of other victims as well. She was only able to escape because of the careless way she was tied up, so she was able to untie herself and begin her escape from the second-story apartment. She told the officer the two men would leave before daybreak and come back at nightfall, when they would pour blood from their wounded wrists into a cup and drink until they were satisfied. As far-fetched as this story sounded, I guess the police officer decided he didn't have anything better to do than to follow up on her tale. I mean, why not? Because she had the wounds and bandages to prove it, and she looked gray in a way that seemed she recently lost a lot of blood. What he actually stumbled upon, I'm not sure if he was thankful that he followed up on her tale or if he absolutely regretted it. The young girl was telling the truth. There were 4 semi-conscious victims tied to chairs with the same blood-soaked bandages around their wrists as the young girl. The investigation moved into another room of the apartment, and the stench of death disrespected their nostrils as soon as they entered the room. There were multiple dead bodies that were wrapped in sheets and hidden away. The police officer and his crew that he wrangled up for this investigation acted fast. He remembered what the girl had told him about the 2 men coming back at nightfall, so he put his men in place for an ambush. The brothers returned home that evening and were totally taken by surprise. It has been said that although the brothers had that average build, they were freakishly strong. So strong that it took 8 of the police officers to finally get them subdued. The story goes that once they were caught, they confessed to their crimes, confessed to being vampires, and begged the police officers to kill them. They told the police officers that they are victims of their thirst and they just can't control it. And if they were to be released, they would absolutely do it all again. The brothers were tried and convicted. I read somewhere that they were tried as serial killers and sentenced to death because it was unable to be determined if they were insane or just murderers. There are 2 versions on how this next part goes. One story goes that the brothers were executed together and buried together. Some years later, the family crypt was opened back up and the bodies of both brothers were gone. Just vanished, never found, and never seen again. The other story goes that one brother was executed and buried first, while the other brother was executed and buried a year or so later. I'm not sure why they would have separated the 2 executions a year apart, but supposedly they did, and when they opened the crypt to bury the second brother, the first brother's body was gone. Whichever story you hear, they both definitely struck terror in the city of New Orleans. 2 of these surviving victims also have urban legends of their own. One of the male victims was said to have become a serial killer himself, murdering over 400 people. One of the female victims was said to have never recovered from her trauma. She ended up committing herself to a mental institution. And what is New Orleans without a little ghost story to sprinkle on top? It has been circulating for decades that sightings of men that match the descriptions of the Carter brothers have been seen wandering the streets. But I'm wondering if they were ghostly figures or if they were actual living beings, since they were said to be vampires. The Carter brothers' tale is one of the many famous stories that comes out of the spooky city of New Orleans. It is used in many of their ghost tours and has been told time and time again since the 1930s. There are no actual official court records, police reports, or burial records to ever exist, but what makes it even more spooky and intriguing is that there are records found for the apartment that was inhabited by the brothers, documents for each of the victims, and of course the widespread panic that ran through the city during that time. So that is the twisted tale of the vampire siblings in New Orleans, John and Wayne Carter. If you have any other twisted tales you would like for me to do an episode on, drop a comment below. And until next time, bye!